Welcome to Happy Hill, the podcast. We deliver meaningful content to grow your faith, well-being, and lifestyle. Hey neighbor, I'm your favorite neighbor, Jay Murray, lifestyle coach, inspiring others to develop self-worth through leadership applications that will enable them to live in purpose. Welcome to the neighborhood. Happy Hill, the podcast. Welcome to Happy Hill, the podcast. Welcome back to the neighborhood family. I'm your favorite neighbor, Jay Murray, and I want to thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching another episode of Happy Hill, the podcast. I am so appreciative of you joining us. And again, just want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for listening throughout the year. Thank you for just sharing, liking, subscribing. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and like. Go ahead and share. Make sure your notifications are turned on as we continue to kind of close out the year. And speaking of closing out the year, this is our bonus episodes. And this is what I'm calling the year-end wrap up or year-end reflections. If you're familiar with the program, you know each year we have ended the year, or I should say in the last 2 years, we have ended the year with our 7 steps to finish what you start. It is a moment where I provide my 7 steps, things that I've learned, lessons learned, experiences that really spoke to me throughout the year that I believe will resonate with you as well as you continue on this lifestyle of finishing what you start. So we'll do that. That's to be the next episode. But today, I just want to provide just some quick thoughts. And this is going to be really very informal, unscripted. Hopefully you get it. But if you don't, I'm releasing it out into the universe because I'm releasing 2022, right? I have reflected, I am continuing to reflect, and now I'm in the moment of releasing, right? It's great therapy. You should try it. So this year I was committed to really having a word for the year. And really, when I say committed, I wanted to really stick with it. I wanted to stick with it. I wanted to understand it, jot down my lessons learned, and really allow it to really breathe into my life, really be mindful of it, right? I wanted to really just kind of be my anchor, be my North Star for 2022. So if you may be asking, like, hey, where's all this coming from? Well, my good cousin, and dear friend, Danielle, she has been on the podcast before, a guest neighbor. She introduced me to a book, and me and my wife, to a book, One Word. Okay, it's about 2 to 3 years ago. She introduced us to this book, and she gave it to us as a gift. So thank you so much. But it's called One Word That Will Change Your Life. John Gordon, Dan Brenton, and Jimmy Page is the author, 3 authors. And it's a wonderful book that just outlines how to make this into a practice. You know, what certain things you should think about when you're thinking about one word and the importance of it, the benefits of it. I would say for me, what resonated with me and just what was truly the benefit for me was one, it really took away the complexity of goal creating, resolution setting. You know, it took that whole process and made it very simple. You know, as we all know, study shows that, hey, all our resolution that we set tends to go away by February and just be forgotten by March. So by having one word, I can truly say it helps you to simplify the process, and it gives somewhat of of a organic process or development, or allows you to explore this this I guess just a journey of growth in a very organic way. Okay. And I think that kind of leads to my second benefit of it that really, again, resonated with me, is that by having one word, you truly go through a transformation in every aspect of your life. Because being that you're anchored to that word, everything you do, especially when you become very intentional about it, is going to be through that word, going to be through the lenses of that word, right? So if your word is patience, you may subconsciously now start to think, well, what does that look like within my health, within my spirituality, right? What does that look like within my finances, you know? And that was really was the I think the I can put this the excitement or just the personal growth that I experienced that allowed me to just like, wow, okay, because this has been somewhat of a continuous drumbeat, right? And you're seeing the evolution of this word and your growth and just your perspective change, right? And it allows you to see much clearer on what are you actually going after, right? Right. And what is it? How is it speaking to you? Right. So it's some depth, there was some soul searching that you're doing. So my one word, um, and hey, if you knew, you probably missed out on me speaking about this in pretty much every episode. So hey, during the holiday break, if you're looking for something to do, if you're looking for some wonderful podcasts to drive to, go back and listen to some of the podcasts. Go back and listen to some of the episodes here on Happy with the Podcast. So, for those that have been riding since the beginning of the year, you already know my word for the year is clarity. Now, the reason why I landed on this word, I think for a number of reasons. The top reasons are I wanted to a become a better decision maker. Okay. I wanted to become better at prioritizing things I needed to do. I wanted to have a sense of discernment when it comes to when I'm doing something. Well, first, what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, and who I'm doing it with. Right. I was looking for that type of clarity. And the reason for that is going into 2022, one thing I felt in 21 was busyness was creeping back in to me. And it was definitely causing it was causing just me to be anxious and just not at peace. Because I felt just kind of go, 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 go. And I had to take a moment to really ask the question to myself and say, Jay Murray, are you being effective? And that's when the revelation came. Is like, just because you're busy doesn't mean you're effective, right? And I had to kind of take and you heard me say this on a previous episode, the lifestyle rest during our leadership series, is that I wanted to remove busyness from my vocabulary because of the triggers that I felt that were set off when I hear that word and when I feel it, right? So to somewhat combat that, I said, okay, I need clarity. I need to find ways to practice clarity. I need to find ways to really make sure how am I gaining clarity? Again, as I said before, how I'm making sure that I'm making the right decision. And at times, family, you may not always make the right decision. At times, you just need to make a decision and make that decision right. We'll talk about that later. But I wanted to have peace in my decision making. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. And I wanted to make sure I had boundaries and I make sure that, hey, I understood and I was focused on what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, right? And if I'm doing it with someone, right? So that was the my rationale for having this word, for having clarity as my word. So one thing that stood out to me immediately as I went on this journey, and this is, now part of my reflection now, is that I had to put this at first I thought about clarity in the way of what am I really asking? Right? Like it's like unpacking clarity and really getting to the root of what are you looking for? Right? What are you looking for? What are you going after? Right? And that's one of the things about having a one word or having a word of the year helps you to have clarity around the goals that you're setting, right? And that's what like what type of goals do I need to set, right? Yes, I know I want to work on the business, I want to do this, I want to do that. I understand, but then how to be very clear and intentional with those goals. That's what I was looking for. And what how should I prioritize them, right? So as I began this journey, I was quickly I became aware of my discipline around how I gain clarity. For example, I wanted to I had this goal in mind, and it wasn't really a goal. It was just like, hey, I'll do it. I was like, hey, we're gonna read. Me and my wife, we both set out, say, hey, there's a program out there that you know, if you take, and the program was around reading the Bible, the entire Bible, back and forth, end to end 365 days within a year, reading the Bible in its entirety. So I was like, hey, that sounds like a good idea. Hey, I get to, you know, uh, read the Bible and, we'll read it together. And, I just felt like, hey, it seemed like a good thing to do, right? I know, right? It seems like a good thing to do. And that's sometimes what seems like a good thing to do, but yet is not aligned to your values or your purpose or what your goals you're going after can be a very bad thing to do. Okay. So don't just because it feels right doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Little side note there. Um, so as I'm doing it and just kind of staying on top of the I guess the assignment and just the uh each day what you're reading and everything like that, right? I came across an IG post of a guy that was some ad about, hey, you want to read more books. I plan to read 300 books this year, and this is how I'm going to do it. And I can teach you how to do it. And I, as I'm thinking about it, I mean, I was a little judgmental. I was like, bruh, like, how you going to read 300 books and obtain all that information? Like it seemed like you just want to consume, consume, consume. And my inner self, the inner spirit said, well, ain't that's what you doing when you reading the Bible? You just want to consume, consume, consume. Like, what are you reading it for? And I was like, oh, okay, okay. You know, like, hey, it was almost like I was pointing a finger at somebody and the fingers were pointing back at me. You know what I'm saying? I was like, ooh, I'm mm. Like that self-awareness started like show up. And I was like, okay, like what am I really looking for? And one thing that I anchored my word to was a verse in the Bible. I wanted to do this based on just like helping me to visualize and imagine and to meditate on clarity. What would help me to do that? So I landed on Proverbs 3, chapter 3, verse 5 through 6. And it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, and in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. I was like, okay, man, that sounds. I was good. I was meditating on it, like, what does that look like? I had discussions with myself and God through my relationship again. Me and God, we just talk. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you may say, hey, pray. We just talk. I just talk to him. That's how I pray at times. And what came in my spirit is like was the first lesson, and that was around stillness. I was like, okay. And what came from this was me saying that I didn't want to be busy no more. And because I didn't feel effective, but yet I was still taking on the same behaviors, trying to consume the Bible in its entirety and not really having a goal in mind of what I was looking to gain from it. Okay. And going back to that verse and meditating on it, what came in my spirit was God was asking me, do you trust me? Because the first sentence, the first word in that scripture is like, trust in the Lord with all your heart. And I go back to the clarity, like, well, yeah, I trust you to provide directions and do this and all this other stuff. But as I thought about it more, it was based on my preference. So as I continue to think and really contemplate it on it more, I was able to now see that the stillness that I was looking for, or the stillness that God was teaching me around getting to know him, was around I need you to sit and really rest upon my word. That means instead of trying to read the entire Bible, how about read particular chapters within the Bible and read them again and read them again and continue to read them again. And how about take that same practice and go back and read some old books that you haven't read in years and go back and revisit them and sit there and digest it. Continue to go back and digest it, right? Continue to go back to some articles and continue to go back to some journals that you wrote years ago and go back and sit and rest in those particular items. And family, that was truly, I would say, the first fruit of my labor around gaining clarity or thinking how to set goals or how to gain clarity in 2022 was I had to learn stillness. I had to learn how to rest and how to remove the busyness that I felt in 2021. That what was helpful for me was the understanding not to be in this to be not caught up in the consume. Sometimes for me, or not sometimes, but as I think about it, it was like I needed to go slow in order to go fast. Okay, I'm gonna say it again. I needed to go slow in order to go fast, right? And that sometimes more is not best. Less is best, right? Less is best. Not more of this, not more of that. Sometimes it is truly less of this, less of that. in order to go fast or to go forward. So stillness was the first part of this. As I thought about it more, as I continue on with the contemplating and really just meditating on my word, the other fruit that was bared from this was consistency. And this came from just me, again, going back to my original goal around clarity of that. Hey, I wanted clarity. I didn't want to feel so busy. I didn't want to feel burnt out. I didn't want to, not feel that I wasn't effective. And what it taught me through those lenses of gaining clarity was understanding my practice around consistency. In other words, I heard someone say this online that consistency is the cheat code to success, right? And one thing that I had to be very mindful in order to get clarity, in order to make sure that I am how I'm making decisions, how I'm removing roadblocks, or how I'm creating boundaries so I can be focused, right? To have that clarity. Well, I got to be consistent with the process, right? I have to understand if this is the process that I'm following. For example, each week, at the beginning of the week, I write down my weekly goals. That was the consistency that helped me to develop the discipline to do that. So once I started to be consistent in writing down my weekly goals at the beginning of the week, I do it on Sunday. It helped me to have more clarity throughout the week of a what I'm doing, excuse me, when I'm doing it, right? And I'm doing it with someone, right? Right. And that gave me the clarity that I needed to help me get to a better place where I didn't feel so busy. Because again, as I said, I was trying to remove busyness and that feeling of busyness of what I experienced in 21, you know. So the clarity for me was understanding how to gain it and what was going to help me to get there. So consistency and practicing consistency helped me to gain the clarity that I needed in order to be effective. Okay. In order to be effective. So, family, you do me a favor. If you're enjoying this, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Go ahead and share this episode with someone. So the third thing, and again, as I said, very quick and sweet. These are just my reflections. Um, as I said before, I just wanted to really, how can I put this? With the, I guess I just want to release it. This is allowing me just to release 2022, by having this moment of reflection. So, if it's all over the place, I do apologize, but hey, just take, you know, very small bites, right? Bite size, and just come back and digest some more of the episode. But the last thing that really helped me to get a better understanding of clarity and what and how to gain it, right? And how to create into a practice is understanding my level of commitment. So that was like the third fruit that that was bared from the seed that I planted around clarity. So commitment to me, or what was a lesson learned there, is like, are you committed to your goals? Are you committed to your purpose? Are you committed to your values? Because one thing with me feeling like my thing around business is that being that I didn't have the appropriate boundaries in place, I became committed to almost any and everything, to where you now you become overcommitted, in which we all have been there, right? Where I just overcommitted myself. I shouldn't have done that, right? And I was just in the moment. They asked me, all this other stuff, but hey, it's okay to say no, right? Because that's not your commitment at this time. And it was, for me, it was kind of understanding. Well, I got to be committed, because commitment is going to allow me to get a better understanding, or to allow me to exercise clarity, right? It allows me to exercise this muscle around clarity. So commitment to me was understanding what is my values, right? And especially around my happy hood. Here's the values of happy hood. So as I think about ideas, I think about partnering with people, the first thing I got to look at is, how does that align to my values? Okay. How does that align to Health Agape Power Institute? Health, honoring our mind, body, and spirit. Agape, demonstrating God's love to the world. Power, continuous self learning. Institute, fostering a community based economy. Like, how does it align to my values? Because if it doesn't align to my values, then I don't need to be committed to it. It doesn't earn my commitment. And it's okay for me to say, you know what? No. Or you know what? Yeah, that idea would be good, but it's not the right scope. And I believe, family, at times we become overcommitted because we're not grounded into our values, grounded into our purpose, and allowing that level of commitment to give you the right level of clarity to understand and to be at peace, to say no, 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 thank you, but no, I'm already doing this, right? It will help you to understand, like, oh no, I'm prioritizing this. This is a more is a higher priority than that. No, yeah, that, great, what you're doing is good for you, but it doesn't really fit within my values of what I'm doing. And it's okay, right? It is totally okay. That doesn't, you don't have to be, I guess, feeling guilty about it, because I think that's sometimes what I may immediately go to. But you have to be very uh what's the word I'm looking for? You have to be very steadfast in your level of commitment and understand what your goals are. And if something goes against your goals and values, then yeah, I don't have to be committed to that. I don't have to be committed to that, right? So just to kind of go back to what was the lessons, right? So one thing with my word for the year was the transformation that I was able to see in my spiritual walk, in my mental, my emotional well-being. You know, it helped me to really overcome this feeling that I had around busyness. And again, as I said before, some of the triggers are the emotions that I will feel when I hear that word, when I use that in my vocabulary, when I feel it, right? Clarity allowed me to overcome it. But having that word for the year, clarity, I was able now to put into practice. I was put into practice through developing a practice around stillness, develop a practice around consistency, and developing a practice around commitment. Okay. So, family, I hope you enjoy this. Again, my quick thoughts, my year end reflection 2022. As I said before, like, share, make sure you continue to follow me on the IG, happy_hood on TikTok. And as always, know that, hey, you were created for greatness. Okay. And no matter what life may bring you, always love God, love yourself, love your neighbor. I'm your favorite neighbor. Till next time, family, be blessed. Happy holidays as well.